KayFabe Smark Podcast. Welcome to the KayFabe Smark Podcast with Eric Todd and Brian Rampa, your smart mark source for news and opinions on the world of professional wrestling.
Hey, what is going on? This is the KayFabe Smark Podcast. This is Brian. We are hanging out here on the 20th of February. It's a Sunday. We postponed a day or so because, well, Dynamite didn't look that interesting. We thought we would hit off the Elimination Chamber there from Saudi Arabia and all that fun stuff. But make sure you guys get on over to those social media outlets. That's Instagram, YouTube, right here where we're streaming live. Make sure you like, subscribe, and hit that. Facebook, TikTok, all of that fun stuff on the social media. We took a week off last week because I was in Florida, and we're back. We're ready to attack, and let's get at it. Let's see what Mr. Eric Todd has going on as we kick off episode 90.
Oh, you know, same old. You spent the last week in Florida. I spent the last week around here just dicking around. My son's in the process of leasing a brand new car, Brian, and the auto industry or the car sales industry right now is just a complete bumblefuck. Nobody has cars, but they're trying to sell you cars that they don't have, and they'll tell you, yeah, we can get that car, but Marky Mark and the Funky Bunch down in Columbus, Ohio will have the car. And it was a whole clusterfuck, Brian, but lo and behold, tomorrow, Monday, my son will finally be sitting in the driver's seat of his 2022 Chevy Equinox RS. He got the fancy one.
Ooh, big dog. Growing up in the world. Wow. He's just an adult now. Now he has to go to work.
Yeah, and true story about Marky Mark and the Funky Bunch. I don't know if you guys out there, actor Mark Wahlberg, rapper Marky Mark, decided to get into the auto industry and buy up a bunch of car dealerships in Columbus. And our boy Chris over at the dealership over here told us he could get a Trailblazer, but that was Marky Mark's Trailblazer. He could not get it.
Yeah, those I've heard about those where you're buying a car from place A, then they're trading a car with place B and hoping that they can get it shipped up in time before you're even none the wiser that you really bought it from another location. And it's just it seems a bit shady if you ask me, but we'll leave the business practices up to those that sell cars. We're here to talk about professional wrestling.
We are indeed, Brian.
Well, as we know, we've had a little hiatus. We had about a week and a couple days off here. So there's got to be some news going around the internet. What do you have for us for news? Is there news? What's happening?
There is some news. I did not cram 2.5 weeks of news into this podcast because, God damn it, we're not staying up till midnight tonight doing this. It is 8:37 as I look at my watch right now. But a lot of the news people heard already. I'm sure there's shit you couldn't miss if you were Stevie Wonder. And so, yeah, I've got some big things that happened. And as soon as you hit that ticker, we will fly right through it.
Big things in professional wrestling news. Da, 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 da. We've scoured the dirt sheets. We've looked at the Twitter posts. And we are here to report back what we heard and what we think. This is the KayFabe Smark News. Oh, that was perfect little timing there. Hit the post.
First things first, Brian. We got to talk about this one. This one's probably going to take up a little airtime here. Cody and Brandy Rhodes have departed AEW. The rumors and speculation are flying all over the place. And I want to know your thoughts on that, Cody and Brandy leaving.
Well, I'm going to be honest with you. My first chunk of a thought was, this is a work. I was convinced on, was it Monday or Tuesday when the news broke, that this was a work. I'm like, this is a work. They're building us up for Wednesday. Then on Wednesday, he's going to be like, I'm never leaving. I'm here. Or he's going to change his name and be something else. He's not, And then it just kept coming. The posts kept coming. The reports kept coming. The Observer, the Wrestling Inc., the Cage Side Seats, the Wrestle Zone, whatever it is, the dirt sheets were ablaze. I was like, damn, this shit's for real. That was it. Then Wednesday came and went. And there was it was just a wrap. The in AEW universe, he's gone. We ain't talking about him no more. And it's just strange to me that after all the shit talking over the years and everything else, I mean, we just talked about it on this podcast a couple months ago, the Golden Shovel incident, where he's bearing with the golden shovel and the whole joke, and the very first AEW pay-per-view when he hit the stone throne that looked like Triple H's gimmick with the sledgehammer and it exploded. He's been shitting and pooping on WWE and Triple H and everything with it for years, and that's where he's going to go? Or do you think there's other plans? I just don't see him what he's going to do in WWE unless they're just backing the Brinks truck up and just said he can change that amount of money. So I don't know.
Yeah, the speculation is endless. First of all, the reasons he left. It hasn't been a secret that him and the rest of the EVPs backstage at AEW, they haven't been getting along the greatest, but they still work together and everyone's in charge of their own little thing. Cody, it's pretty obvious he thinks he's bigger than he really is. Rumors going around constantly about how annoying Brandy Rhodes is backstage. And then we even see shit happen on TV with her segment with Dan Lambert, where to the untrained eye, or hell, to the trained eye, looks like Dan Lambert was going into business for himself and shooting on Brandy there. And then the big names coming in, the Daniel Bryan, or the Bryan Danielsons, the CM Punks, the Andrade,
Adam Page,
the Adam Coles. So, and then Cody wanting to be in that top level and get that kind of paycheck. So yeah, the shit is all over the place. And then on top of that, you got the dirt sheet saying WWE is extremely interested in Cody and they want to bring him back. And then the next thing you see is Cody tweeting out a picture from his living room saying, "This is what retirement looks like." They're keeping us on our toes or keeping us interested. If that's their goal, they're succeeding, I'd say.
Yeah, they're succeeding in keeping you focused on this piece of content and what's going to go down with it. Because when something does happen, it's going to break the internet again, right? So whether he doesn't go to WWE and everybody gets led to believe that he's going to make an appearance, or you've got Ring of Honor that's going to be opening their doors back up, and in the same WrestleMania weekend, that Friday, I think they're having their Super Card of Honor. So you have that option as well. Right, he came from that Ring of Honor New Japan circuit, so there's a few different options. It depends on who's reaching in and offering him some money. If Ring of Honor's really looking to make a go of things, maybe they're going to write a check, that it's going to surprise a lot of people. Impact could be offering. There's people going around all over the place. The talks with Bray Wyatt looking to go to Impact was blowing my mind, because in my head, you might as well just go wrestle in a pole barn and stream it live on Twitch. Where are they at? So if people got money and they want to pay, we'll see. But I think when it breaks, it's going to break again. But I think Cody is a little too big for his britches. I'll have to agree with you on that. He set himself up that he'll never be the champion. From everything I heard, right, he's the one that set that up, because he wasn't going to be the first champion. So then he went out in business out for himself and said, "Hey, I'll never be a champion." All right, how can you never be a champion and get champion paychecks?
Right.
Bryan Danielson's gonna hold the belt. CM Punk is gonna hold that belt. Adam Cole will hold that belt. This year, next year, 5 years, don't quote me on it, but these guys are in that picture, or at least that's where they should be working towards. Cody went and removed himself from that, and then now says, "Well, I want to be paid like them." Well, hey, dickhead. Because you didn't get it right away. You threw a hissy fit, and now you made the bed. So I don't know. I think it's best. I think he was in a weird spot, and he was committed to this shitty gimmick that even the crowd didn't like. You're not the All-American Hulk Hogan superhero. Sorry. Just be you.
And this is kind of off topic, but on topic at the same time. There was a theory floating around on Reddit that this weird, you want to say turn, but it wasn't really a heel turn or anything like that. But this weird feeling towards Cody started when he got that stupid ass neck tattoo because anyone who would get that dumbass tattoo right there on their neck, it's kind of hard to follow them as a baby face. And then that person absolutely refuses to turn heel. That it's, I don't know, it just kind of put them in this weird fog where you couldn't like them, you couldn't hate them, you don't know what to do with him. If you do hate him, he won't embrace it because he won't turn heel for some reason. And it's just,
They could have just
he
copied.
got annoying.
Yeah. They could have just copied the CM Punk, this John Cena thing where it was like the Cena sucks, where half the crowd hated him and embraced off of being, I'm still going to be who I am and you can hate me or love me and that whole thing. And, he just wanted everybody to love him. He didn't want, Cena goes, hey, they're chanting my name, whether it's that I suck or I'm good. People are chanting my name, God bless and Godspeed. But Cody is not about that life. He wants everybody to embrace him and everything else. So I bet you if you would have never have told me that he was retiring and he just stopped appearing on AEW TV, I probably would have been like, I haven't seen Cody in a while. And I would
like, well.
well, and then would have been surprised when he showed up on somewhere else and went, well, son of a bitch. But unlike the old days, I think they should have been quicker to react with this. Like, he should have led AEW on until WWE was ready to pop him, and then the next night could have been like that old school, like, show up to the pay-per-view, and the next night he's on Raw, right? Like, that shit
Right,
would
that
have
would have
killed
been
it.
great.
But they're just like, nah, we're done. It's like, how random. But because you can't get your money, go home and cry.
Yeah, and we will keep you updated on that. Eventually, something's got to break. Either he'll announce a retirement or he'll announce he signed with somebody. He's not going to sit around idle for too long.
Yeah.
So out with the old, in with the new. Keith Lee, over our little break here, debuted in AEW, had a hell of a match with Isaiah Cassidy. And
I just laughed that you used the term hell of a match with Isaiah Cassidy.
Keith Lee was just, he was the epitome of what Keith Lee should be, though. Just a no-selling son of a bitch, chucking people across the ring and just being a monster.
Just throwing people around.
Yeah, and so after that, Keith Lee, very thankful, tweeting out to the fans and everything that we got a lot of work to do. You guys really touched my soul. Keith Lee is a very sensitive, nice guy there. And it was nice to see him come in. And Keith Lee was not on last week's episode of Dynamite, the one that just passed, because he is on his honeymoon with
Mia Yim.
Mia Yim. I almost said Gail Kim. But yeah, he and Mia Yim on their honeymoon. And while they're gone and out and about, the rumors have already started, Brian. Turns out Keith Lee, in his 2 weeks in AEW, his attitude is already rubbing people the wrong way backstage. His shit doesn't stink, according Keith Lee's shit does not stink. And people close to him are actually pretty concerned about his weight. If you saw the match, looks about 40 or 50 pounds heavier than he did in WWE. And then we've all known he's had heart problems. He's had COVID. So that 50 pounds isn't doing him any good, especially I think he's 37, 38 years old.
Yeah, he did look a little fluffier.
Yeah, so we'll see what's going on with Keith Lee. We all know AEW is everybody get along, we're all friends atmosphere. So if he's going to go in there like he's king shit at Turd Island, I don't know how long he's going to be on TV. He might be delegated to the YouTube shows.
Oh, boy. This guy can't catch a goddamn break. He blows up the internet, like in the independent scene, gets noticed by the WWE, goes to NXT, blows up in NXT, does it huge, finally works his way to the top of NXT, blows up, moves to the main roster, and then it just fell apart from there. Jumps to AEW, and within 2 weeks, people are like, yeah, I don't know about this guy. He's fucking good, too.
Yeah, and I don't have a problem with Keith Lee being cocky. I mean, I'm not there. I'm not sure what kind of things he's doing. It sure as hell ain't the 80s and early 90s style ribbon that was going on in the
Yeah.
indie scene back in the day. So I don't think he can be doing anything that bad. But yeah, it's just like you said, guy can't catch a break.
No, for being so damn good, man. Um, what can he be? How bad can he be? Just like, what he just say, bask in it every time somebody walks by. You've got to bask in it. He farts and he uses that. You got to bask in my glory.
Who knows? I'm sure more will come out about that once he's off his honeymoon. Um, the Hardy Boys, Matt and Jeff Hardy, are already booking indie shows. This I found a little odd because let's face it, Jeff Hardy's going to end up in AEW.
At least for
If
like
you're,
a year.
yeah, if you're Tony Khan, why don't you just give him some money and say, stay off the fucking indie scene, idiot. I want your comeback to be on TBS television on a Wednesday night or on March 3rd or whatever at their pay-per-view.
Yeah, and like tease it, right? Or something where something's happening backstage and finally it's revealed on who it is, blah, blah, blah. Just you can reuse and recycle wrestling gimmick or, storylines and it works. Like they did that with Jericho every time that he disappeared and then came back, right? Then the countdown started. Oh my God, it's been Jericho backstage. You could have Jeff Hardy do the same thing. Like, why let him go out there? Because I get like old school wrestling, they would do that, right? You would send guys out and like they said Shawn and Razor did like 50 ladder matches or some nonsense for the IC title before WrestleMania 10 on house shows. That way, when they got to the pay-per-view, they knew what the hell they were doing. Well, there was no internet, and there was no, smartphones and live streaming on Facebook while you're at a house show of all this nonsense happening. So you can't do that now. So just go home, wrestle in your wrestling ring back in your backyard in the warehouse at the Hardy
some
compound,
friends over,
and keep in shape and keep your ring rust off and debut here in 6 weeks. You can't go on the indie scene. People are going to be talking about it forever. They're going to know the surprise is gone.
Yep, surprise is done, and it looks like their first match will be on March 13th at Big Time Wrestling. The Hardy Boys will be taking on the Major Brothers. The Major Brothers being Matt Cardona and Brian Myers, whoever the fuck they are. Well, we know Matt Cardona, but
Brian.
So, yeah, that will be his big comeback show. And then after that, it's a pretty decent match. I'd like to see this one. On March 27th, Danbury, Connecticut, the Hardy Boys will be taking on Enzo and Kaz XL, who will be tagging again for one night only, Brian.
All right. One of those gimmicks, huh? One night only every 6 weeks as they tour the country until they can find an actual job that'll pay them. Those two knuckleheads.
Yeah, so be interesting to see the geriatric Hardys and then Enzo, who can't follow a spot, doesn't know his ass from a hole in the ground, and Kaz, who's just So yeah, we'll see how that goes.
We'll see the geriatric Hardys and dangerous Enzo gonna go shit the bed up there in Dansbury, Connecticut. What else is going on in the news there?
We got speculation of a soon-to-be signing over in AEW. Apparently, this is already set. It's going to happen. Just hasn't been announced officially. The former Buddy Murphy, who's now going under Buddy Matthews, is set to be signing with AEW here soon. Looks like a number of AEW talent has been told that the working plan is to bring in Buddy Murphy here, and this has been the case since early January. So they've been working on this deal for a while. So old Buddy be over in AEW.
Who cares?
Now, didn't he have some sort of gimmick? Was that him who was working with Bryan Danielson? Or was that one of them other weird, just guys in panties type gimmicks?
Yeah, no, he was working with Seth Rollins. Remember when he was doing that Monday Night Messiah thing, and then he changed his name from Buddy Murphy to just Murphy. It was all goofy shit.
So yeah, we covered a couple signings and speculated signings to AEW, and now speculation of possibly somebody leaving AEW.
Oh,
Yeah, back in April of 2019, good old JR signed a 3-year deal with AEW. So Jim Ross has confirmed that his contract is up in April, and but according to Jim Ross, he doesn't plan on going anywhere. The quote from good old JR is, AEW is in a really cool spot, especially a guy like me. My contract is up soon. I'm not looking to go anywhere, but nonetheless, I'm 70. I have to be realistic at some point in my crazy ass life. I haven't been. My late wife would say amen to that. He's a character. I'm loving what I'm doing. It's still fun for me. As long as you keep that element in the place of work, you're all right and doing good. So JR saying he's going to be in AEW, but also I'm 70. I don't know what the fuck I'm going to do.
well, he's 70. What the fuck? If he wants
Yeah.
to go talk about wrestling, like he should just have an open contract. He should just be able to show up and be like, "Well, I guess JR is going to call the matches tonight." He should just be like, for 3 weeks, he might just stay at home and say fuck it. So that's where I see him. But whatever, JR can do whatever he wants to do. Doesn't hurt me either way. I'm happy for him.
Right. The New York Post has broke the story that The Undertaker will be the first person inducted into the Hall of Fame class of 2022 for WWE. So yeah, obviously we'll get more announcements leading up to WrestleMania, but a good old Undertaker's going to be the main event for inductees in the WWE Hall of Fame this year.
WWE's hosting their WrestleMania week there in Texas. If anybody didn't see this one coming, you were blind as a bat. I would hate to be anybody else on that roster of WWE Hall of Fame inductees. Like, I don't want to be anywhere near that one. Because why? It should just be The Undertaker. That was it.
Right. They should just leave it at that, to be honest. And then finally, speaking of WWE, PW Insider has reported that the WWE roster has returned safely to the United States earlier today, following their trip to Saudi Arabia for the Elimination Chamber. The talent roster reportedly landed in the United States earlier today after a brief stop in Europe to refuel, and then they are back and they're ready for their show tomorrow, I'm sure.
God dang, that's some hell of travel there. Like, I think I just looked it up from a general spot in the U.S., like New York or something. It was like 16-hour flight. Like, God dang, that's a long time. But they're probably not flying some bullshit ass fucking.
Yeah, they're not flying Spirit
coach, Spirit coach, and only so. But still, nonetheless, that's just some crazy travel time there. But anyways, I think we're. And you got any more news? I got nothing else on that. I was gonna say something about the flight, and then I brain farted, so I just said fuck it.
Nope, that is a wrap on the news. So slap that button, and we will move on.
That was the news. People are leaving AEW. People are joining AEW. WWE is inducting The Undertaker into the 2022 Class Hall of Fame. I hope nobody else is inducted. And now, my news won't stop playing, so we will hit this right like that. All right, my button hosed up, and I will do it manually. We are going to play...
Let's play Overrated or Underrated with Eric Todd.
That's right, it's overrated, underrated. We're going to play our little game here real quick, then we'll get to breaking down the Elimination Chamber and talking about that. We are going to do celebrities that have graced us in the professional wrestling world. Up first, overrated or underrated, Mike Tyson. You can do Mike Tyson in any era of professional wrestling. You can do that WrestleMania, 13? You can do his current AEW little stint. Mike Tyson, pro wrestling, where you at?
Well, I think every time Mike Tyson popped into the wrestling scene, be honest with you, I think it was a little overrated. A lot more so in the AEW era. Granted, Tyson is having a fight here and there in that Legends company or whatever that's happening in the boxing world. But honestly, who really gives a shit? The younger generation, the ones who are watching the flippy dip Cirque de Bullshit shit, they've never even seen a Mike Tyson fight, and they don't know anything about him. So overrated across the board, more so in AEW.
I agree. Overrated because what a punch looks like in pro wrestling is not what a punch looks like in boxing. So an impressive right hand is like in boxing, you go, what the hell was that? And then a guy's knocked out on his ass. And in pro wrestling, it's got to be a big to-do, right? So nobody buys that a punch from Tyson hurts in pro wrestling. So I'm going to give that overrated as well. Were you going to say
All
something
right.
else? It looked like you were going to say
I was
something.
just gonna say, if somebody dared no sell a Mike Tyson punch in wrestling, it's like that just completely exposes the business, or even not no selling it necessarily, but just taking one right on the chin and then just getting up after a couple seconds. It's no,
No.
because he's fighting guys like Lennox Lewis and fucking
Yeah.
Evander Holyfield. He's guys who do this for a living, get knocked out by those Mike Tyson punches. So it doesn't translate to wrestling.
What do you think? Overrated or underrated? Dennis Rodman, Rodzilla in the NWO and the WCW back in the late 90s.
Oh, man. I thought the basketball players coming in was kind of a joke, but you got to hand it to WCW. That was when Dennis Rodman was all over the place. We weren't inundated with millions of different websites and everything in that era. So the fact that Dennis Rodman was known by everybody and was on Inside Edition and Entertainment Tonight and all in the newspapers for his antics, he was pretty much one of the biggest stars you can nab back then. So I'm going to say underrated. Not the greatest worker in the world in a wrestling ring, but he definitely brought eyes to the product.
Yeah, he definitely brought the entertainment to sports entertainment.
Right.
Overrated or underrated? David Arquette.
David Arquette is underrated, man. It was a complete joke. It was a complete joke when he came into WCW. That was in the with their death rattle going on, basically, wasn't it? Wasn't WCW about to fall off a cliff?
Yeah, they made him the
And
goddamn champion.
but god damn it, if David Arquette didn't stick to his guns and take this shit completely seriously, and he's still out there to this day wrestling on the indie scene, wrestling in garbage championship wrestling, getting cut up by the drug addict Nick Gage.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, for a celebrity who could have just stayed in movies and just worked Netflix films and made a nice safe living, to get out there and get cut up by the likes of Nick Gage and whatnot, I'm gonna hand it to him, man. David Arquette's probably one of the most underrated celebrities to grace a wrestling ring.
I can't deny that either. I didn't know if I saw you going that way, though. I thought you'd be like, fuck that guy. Overrated or underrated in pro wrestling here, celebrity. We're going back to boxing. Floyd Mayweather.
Floyd Money Mayweather, man. I want to say underrated, or I want to say overrated so bad, because he don't give a shit about the business. He don't. It's just wrestling. I'll do that wrestling to make some money, but god damn it, if he didn't get in there and really like stick to his guns and go for it and really pop Big Show in the face. And yeah, he didn't really. Floyd Mayweather didn't respect the business, but he sure knew what he was doing. He sure knew how to entertain when he got there. So he brought more eyes to the business, and more money in his pocket.
Last one.
Underrated.
Underrating that one. Last one here. Overrated or underrated? Pete Rose.
Oh God, Pete Rose. That guy, he's committed. He needs to be committed, I guess. But he just keeps coming back to WWE, keeps getting embarrassed every chance he gets. And but yeah, I remember being a kid and I liked baseball, and I did not give a shit that Pete Rose was there. So I don't know if this is just a running gimmick or if Vince McMahon just likes him as a person or what the hell is going on there. But I don't think Pete Rose had any effect on wrestling that any other dickhead would have had if you just brought him off a baseball team. So yeah, Pete Rose probably one of the most overrated people to grace a WWE ring.
Oh man, that's pretty funny because I knew you were gonna shit all over Pete Rose. All right, well that's all I got for overrated or underrated. So you ready to break down and talk about the Elimination Chamber and what happened over there in Saudi Arabia over the Saturday afternoon as we were viewing this or able to view this, which threw me all off. Saturday afternoon
That
wrestling.
time difference screwed everything up. Yeah, if you notice now they're actually saying Saudi Arabia. You remember a year or two ago, they would do everything they possibly could when reporters were getting their heads cut off and whatnot to not utter the phrase Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, now they're just going all in with it, the kingdom of Saudi Arabia and everything else. So everything looked good. I preferred the setup this one than the previous Saudi shows that they had because the people in the front row were actually fans this time. Like those
Right.
first couple ones was the kingdom, like the king and his homies filled it up with couches and shit and just sat around and like they were at the Super Bowl trying to broker the next big deal in the world of high rollers. And then at least this was just like was fans. It felt like a wrestling show.
Yeah, the audience looked genuine. They were totally into it. If they didn't say it was in Saudi Arabia, they could have just passed it off as a regular ass pay-per-view.
Yeah, just
Those fans were into it.
the fans were into it, and it was just like a really big arena or type show. So it was like a football arena type show. You'd been like, wow, they run all out for an Elimination Chamber, huh? Cool. The fact that it was on at noon would have thrown you off.
Yeah, it was nice though. Like you mentioned before, from the barricade back, probably about 50 to 100 feet, was just completely blocked off from the general public, and you had nothing but the royal family sitting in lounge chairs and whatnot. And it really made the first few events in Saudi Arabia pretty uncomfortable and unnatural to watch. So yeah, this one was a nice change of pace.
100. Well, kick it off with the first match here. Where we at?
Yeah, first things first. I watched this thing on demand, and when I saw the 2 hours and 47-minute mark on there, and I knew the commercials and advertisements were going to be through the roof, I was like, yes, because WWE has been putting on some long ass pay-per-views.
Yeah.
And sometimes they are just brutal to get through.
Yeah, they've been like super long, like 4 hours, and you're like, so this one felt refreshing at 3 hours.
Yeah, 247, and you can skip through probably about 45 minutes of just straight commercials.
That and about 20 minutes for Elimination Chamber entrances.
Yeah, no doubt. I did save a lot of time on those. Good point. But yeah, we're going to kick it off with our first match here. We got Roman Reigns defending his Universal WWE Championship against the likes of Billy Goldberg here. And this crowd are a bunch of Billy goats. They love Goldberg in Saudi Arabia. They love old ass Goldberg.
Billy Goats. Is that the Billy the greatest of all time? William Goldberg?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, they were eating out of Goldberg's hand. They were loving the Goldberg chant. I think it's something that they just didn't get to do as fans. Everybody wanted Goldberg. You want to do that old thing, and this was the thing. Goldberg and Roman Reigns had we're going to start to break into the match here. I thought they gelled decently in this match. Goldberg has had a history of being a bit stiff, with the likes of breaking Bret Hart's sternum or whatever it was in WCW to almost murdering The Undertaker a few years back in Saudi Arabia, I believe. So, Roman Reigns and them, they held it together. I think they worked at a slower pace, and that worked for it. But let's take this from the top and work our way back here.
Yeah, we started this thing up with a collar and elbow tie-up here. These two just battling over the ring to see who's the strong man out of the two. short scuffle before Goldberg is tossed to the outside. And I was a little confused at that point because Goldberg already looked winded, and you're like, just shake your head at that one. This can be a short match. And he was selling the shit out of that leg. And that was the leg he shoot hurt back in the day, wasn't it?
Yeah, then that one in that match a few months ago, or whatever it was, a year ago now.
Yeah, a year ago or so. So he's selling the shit out of his leg just from getting tossed out of the ring. And that doesn't seem like a logical spot to sell. And it's just, you can see a disaster just incoming at that point. But they pulled it together, and this match was the best it could possibly be.
There you go.
Once you get your shit going on the outside, Roman Reigns getting thrown into the barricade, a little back and forth out there. They're back in the ring, and then it's just back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. It is, break it down for you, a spear from Goldberg, his jackhammer gets reversed into a rock bottom from Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns hits a Superman punch, gets a 2 count. We get another spear from Goldberg, and then this time the jackhammer gets reversed into a guillotine from Roman Reigns, and it's a wrap. But they were able to milk it, and the excitement was there for all these finishers coming back to back to back.
Yeah, it felt off. Like, it felt like they were like putting this together, almost calling it during the match, like calling this live, like when they're in there, like, okay, we're gonna do this, we're gonna do that. Some of the spots were a little off and a little clunky, but these guys aren't known for technical wrestling, right? So it worked out okay. Right. If it would have been some technical wrestlers in there, you'd have been like, oh my God, what are we watching here? But you watch a spear, a Superman punch, another spear, or whatever else you got going back and forth, and jackhammers and rock bottoms and stuff, and it's just power moves, big moves, so they can be a little slower and a little clunkier. So that worked out for them, but you could tell they were like, I know I just said that they gelled well, but by that meaning they just worked through this thing together. But if you were to break it down, there wasn't very exciting. They just made it through the match.
Right. And they gave us exactly what we expected and a little bit more. We've come to almost become accustomed to a Goldberg match being 30 seconds or less. So, you got to give it to Roman for kind of carrying him through it and giving Goldberg a couple close calls. I think anyone who knows anything about wrestling and how storylines work and whatnot did not see Goldberg winning this thing.
No.
But there's a couple times where it's like, maybe he'll hold it till Monday. Because when he was kicking out of the Roman Reigns finishers and whatnot, but short and sweet. I didn't hate it. I didn't love it. It was just kind of like, they did better than I expected.
Yeah, they got through it. Like I said, it had its moments in the beginning. You could just feel that they needed to get that gel warmed up and get themselves figured out there, and then they got it flowing. I'm with you though when you said that you watch it, and I'm like, well, Roman's gonna win. They've been having this battle with him and Brock Lesnar back and forth. He's already kind of picked it. That's going to be the WrestleMania. They haven't solidified it because this match is still got to happen first, right? Then it's solidified, and I didn't see it making sense for Goldberg to go to WrestleMania. So then, like I say, and then are they going to flip it on Raw? Are they going to do something with it? This seemed a little bogged down and beat up by the time it got there. So I was glad they didn't do all that. But they did make you think a couple times when he hit that spear out of nowhere, and you're like, oh, son of a bitch. Usually that's when he wins.
Yeah, it's just you're stuck in that area where the Saudis want to see Goldberg win.
Yeah.
And the Saudis got the money. They're throwing money at Vince McMahon left and right. So you almost want to book it to just make them happy. But you can't kill Roman Reigns' streak right now.
No.
That would just piss all over when he finally does lose to Brock Lesnar or whoever ends up beating him.
Sure, you can't break it here and then have him lose it at WrestleMania again. It's like, boof. But the best part that made this match okay is that it was so short, like you were just talking about. That's the only thing
If
that
they
really
would've dragged
saved
this
it.
thing on any longer, it just would have been a mess, and Roman Reigns would have ended up with a broken neck.
Yeah, then he would have had to have won. He would just would have Goldberg would have shoot won it. He just would have been like, well, I guess I won. He's unconscious. I got something has to happen here. So, yeah, that was the best thing that saved it. That you can look back and go, it wasn't a bad match. Now, if you break it down by its technical status, it was okay. So upward and onward, we move on. We still have your reigning WWE, or what is he? Is he the Universal Champion?
Universal Champion, yeah.
The Universal Champion's on SmackDown now. Roman Reigns going to take on officially Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania. So next match is the Women's Elimination Chamber match, if my memory is correct.
Yeah, that is correct. Our Women's Elimination Chamber match, we have Bianca Belair, Liv Morgan, Doudrop, Rhea Ripley, Nikki ASH, and Alexa Bliss. And Alexa Bliss, she had some renovations done in her pod. She got a swing set installed in her pod.
Yeah, because she was gone for psychiatric help, and now she's been cleared by the psychiatric doctor to come back and wrestle. She's doing what she can with this gimmick. It somehow works a little bit, so what the fuck? Roll with it. This match, the Ladies Elimination Chamber match, you could look at the list, and any of them could have won it, if you ask me.
Yeah.
I mean, now, do I care for Doudrop? No. I hate the name. I don't understand what it is. Okay, whatever. I'm over Doudrop. But they've been putting a rocket up her ass, so it's possible. Nikki ASH has already held the championship once, so it's not impossible. And the other three are like gimmies, and then the other three could easily walk away with it, if you ask me. So you had two up there that were like, and three for sure. So really, anybody could have won it.
I'm not too familiar with Liv Morgan. Is she top tier right now?
She's up there. She could have won it. It could have been the start of a new thing for her. She's maybe not at that level. So she would have been it would have been for me, Doudrop, bottom, and then Nikki, and then Liv Morgan, and then you've got Rhea and what's her name? Bianca Belair.
Right. And we are in Saudi Arabia. The women have to be fully covered except for their face. And we'll see later. Not Rhea Ripley. Ronda Rousey had her feet exposed. So that's okay in Saudi Arabia. But it was just interesting to see Liv Morgan straight up channeling 1999 Britney Spears. Oops, I did it again. With the red pleather bodysuit. And then Rhea Ripley, man. She's Hustler and New Sensations is going to be shooting her for contracts, man, because she looked like a straight up dominatrix. All she needed was a leather mask with a zipper on the mouth.
Now, I did like the women's outfits compared to years past in Saudi when they first were allowed to wrestle, because the first show they did, ladies were not allowed to wrestle at all. They were put on the shelf, and then the second and third time, or wherever we're at now, they let the ladies in. Well, then they just had them wear like these spandex onesies and then a T-shirt. So
a baggy SmackDown T-shirt.
Yeah, and it just looked like what? Like it just didn't look right. And now they've got the WWE has planned for this, and worked out something that fits the ladies' style and who they are and how it fits them. So it didn't look just awkward and weird. So this one looked like actual outfits that you could see them wear on a regular basis, and it would have worked fine. Nikki ASH, I think they just added arms to her. Like she just had sleeves.
Yeah. That was about it. That's all it took. And speaking of Nikki Ass, we're starting this thing off with her and Liv Morgan. And this is another one. It just kind of is what it is. And you're just kind of waiting to see who's going to be out next. Yeah. And for me, I'm just waiting to see Rhea Ripley come out. But lo and behold, Doudrop ends up coming into the match. And I'll tell you what, Brian, this is probably the first time I've completely agreed with Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia hates Doudrop. They fucking hate her.
Yeah, she wasn't getting over very well with the Saudi crowd there.
She's a heel now anyway. She turned heel like a month ago. So I didn't know if they hated her because she's Doudrop or that's the reason I hate her. But or if they just hated her because she was a heel.
That's the reason I hate her. I hate her for the same reasons. I don't think she's
Yeah.
talented at all, and I don't understand what they're doing with her. But, yeah, I'm with you. This thing started off a little, okay. You're not going to win it. For one, you can't win it anyway. So the Elimination Chamber is a little boring in that aspect, even through the men's, because it can't be won immediately. It's not like if you get the first pin, you win. So you want to be in there. So you just kind of sit and wait. The thing that I thought they should have explained better or had a reason or something is why are the first two starting? Like, how was that decided? Right? So everybody came down. Then Nikki ASH and Liv Morgan were in the ring, and they didn't go to a pod. And then Alexa Bliss comes down, and she has her own pod. So it was just like, there was no random draw to this. It was just like, unless it was explained on SmackDown or Raw, and I just missed it. But I thought they should have broke that down a touch. But other than that, it was Elimination Chamber.
Yep, is what it is. We get our standard. The women's matches are the ones that emphasize this the most, where people just act hurt and disappear for a while in the multiple people matches. So Doudrop and Liv Morgan are out of commission. They're resting. And that's when Rhea Ripley comes in, and she is completely focused on Nikki ASH. And Nikki ASH trying to climb the cage here because superheroes do fly in WWE, and Ripley puts an end to that, pulls her off the cage into a catch me spot, gives her a riptide, and it's a wrap on your almost superhero, Brian.
It is a wrap on your almost superhero. And here's the other thing that I don't care for the Elimination Chamber is like how they have to leave. I think it's just like it's kind of weird and clunky. Like, so there's this big, massive 20,000-pound structure, and then like you get pinned and you just gotta like roll off and walk away, like sulk out. Like, that's just the weird part for me.
Now, I didn't really notice until the men's one. Every time someone gets eliminated, do they open up that giant ass 20-foot door?
Yeah, just open up the door and then they go walk out. I'm sorry. Like, it's just a weird. I don't know. That's the weird part for me. That part doesn't flow. So, but other than that, it's all right.
Now we're talking about women's wrestling, so I can't really get in on the unbelievable size. But when you got Alexa Bliss standing next to Rhea Ripley, and then you just got Alexa Bliss coming into the match and just whooping the shit out of not only Liv Morgan but Rhea Ripley, it's just kind of like, really? Rhea Ripley's like 6'4", goddamn size 15 boot. Yeah. I think she would just put the stomping to Alexa Bliss here, but Alexa Bliss is over like Rover even with this shitty gimmick, and she is whipping ass on both Rhea Ripley and Liv Morgan here. And then Morgan eliminates Doudrop, and finally she's out of there, and Bianca Belair, WWE, speaking of rockets up the ass to the moon on Bianca Belair here. She is just clearing house, kicking everybody's ass in this Elimination Chamber.
Yeah, the EST, the strongest, the fastest, the bestest. She is there. She's in the spot, and, God bless, she's been in the spot and been ready to go every time she's been called upon. So she doesn't, light my fire as a professional wrestler. But when they say, hey, we need you, she goes out and does the damn thing. So she keeps answering the call when the door's knocked on.
Just the one thing, I have to point this out. The one-arm gorilla press.
I hate it.
Drives me batty because it's
more
so completely obvious.
Well, hell, it's more impressive for the person that's holding themselves up there in a plank on her shoulders. They should be like, look at Liv Morgan holding herself up there.
Yeah, but no, lo and behold, the commentating team is selling this thing like Liv Morgan's arm doesn't exist.
This thing has got Eric so mad he's going to vomit. You can hear him talking as he's talking. He's holding it back from regurgitating. That one-armed gorilla press, she's not holding her with one arm. You can't hold somebody at the knee and the collarbone and take your hand off the collarbone and have them balance over your head. It ain't happening. I don't care how strong you are.
So just the commentators, how I understand suspending disbelief, but it's completely ridiculous when it comes to this one-arm gorilla press. It's just get the shit out of there. We'll get rid of that, and then what we'll do, Brian, is we'll go into stereo vertical suplexes from Rhea Ripley and Bianca Belair here. Ripley, right after the stereo suplexes, turns on Bianca Belair, and then we're just back to the action. Alexa Bliss eliminating Liv Morgan after doing that weird spinner Rooney splash right onto Liv Morgan's knees. Must have really hurt those ACLs and whatnot, those patella glands.
Glands.
Took out Liv Morgan after landing right on her kneecaps there.
I mean, once you get somebody lands on your knees, it's hard to kick out. You can't kick out if your knees are hurt.
Right.
You've eliminated the kick out.
Alexa Bliss fucks that up like 80% of the time. Just take it out of your fucking playlist.
The twist of bliss or the twisted bliss or whatever she calls it, as she does that like weird, awkward moonsaulty flip thing. Yeah, but that was that. And then where are we at? So who's in the ring left now? Where are we talking about?
All right, so Morgan is gone. Doudrop is gone. So yeah, we are down to Bianca Belair, Alexa Bliss, and I believe Rhea Ripley.
Yeah. Once you got these three in the ring, now at this point I can really believe any of the winners.
Yeah, next to go is Rhea Ripley. Belair hits her with the KOD. We kind of knew that was happening soon. WWE does not see what they have right in front of them with Rhea Ripley, so you just kind of expect her to get eliminated in the middle of the road.
I think it's the fact that she can wrestle is the problem, so people that like to watch her believe that she's big and strong and mean, and like I look at her and go, yeah, she could probably beat me up. Like even in a working wrestling match, I'd go, no, she could probably beat me up, but she doesn't have that Good Morning America vibe. So after WrestleMania, she can't be at Good Morning America, and then she can't be on whatever it is, Kelly and whatever the new Regis and Kelly or whoever's hosting that stupid show. Like
it's Kathy Lee Gifford, right?
Yeah,
Regis and Kathy Lee.
Regis
Gifford.
and Kathy Lee. Like you can't go make the circuit, right?
Right.
So like she just doesn't have that face. Sorry, it's just the way it is, that vibe.
We go from one-arm gorilla presses right into Canadian destroyers. Right?
Not even Canadian destroyers. We go into this like she gets Bianca Belair like bent over, sits on her back, and all she needs is the momentum. Now, at least like when Adam Cole or whoever else does their Canadian destroyer, Panama Sunrise, they use a jump and like the spring of the knees to add to the flip. Alexa Bliss just sits on you, and all she needs to do is take her hands backwards and throw them forward. And she can throw her hands so hard with so much momentum, the centrifugal force of her hands will make you do a flip and throw your own self across the ring.
110-pound girl just has that much momentum.
To wave her hands.
Old Albert Einstein would be rolling over in his grave right now.
Yeah, like, that's so unbelievable. At least with the jumping one off of the middle rope or these things, like, you can go, all right, it's still not necessarily. But, like, she just sits there and then, like, waves and then throws her hands and, whee, I can make you flip.
Now, I am all about suspending disbelief to enjoy wrestling. I'm not that much of a Debbie Downer. But when it's that much in your face, it's just, oh, my God, it's embarrassing.
100%.
And these two are supposed to be two of the top talents in the entire world, and just don't get it, man. So with Rhea Ripley gone, and after the Canadian Destroyer, we get a near fall there. Bliss and Belair, for the level these two are at, their back and forth was like okay for the remainder of this match, but overall it was pretty fucking sloppy.
Yeah, these two look like somebody was going to get hurt eventually. Like,
yeah, so it was a good thing they got it over when they did, just near fall after near fall until Bianca Belair finally hits Alexa Bliss with the KOD, and Belair wins the match here.
Yeah, Alexa Bliss looked like she had some ring rust on her, so she had been, that the psychological ward will do that to people. They can't. She's not getting in her ring time in wrestling there when she's, in psychological watch at all times. She's in a straitjacket. It was like Terminator 2. She had to be strapped down to the bed, and there was the warden would hit her with the billy club. It was a whole terrible thing.
Oh, yeah, she Sarah Connored her way. I'm surprised she didn't come out in a white wife beater and gray sweatpants.
She should have
Brian.
done that. They should have did a whole vignette of her escaping like Sarah Connor did, spitting out the hair of the bobby pin and working her way out of the thing. Oh, well, what are you going to do? But this match made it through. Wasn't impressive to me. There wasn't anything to write home about. They just made it through. The winner makes sense to me. So what are you going to do?
I'm not one to compliment women's matches, Brian, but compared to the next shit show we saw, this thing was a goddamn Vincent Van Gogh masterpiece. This Elimination Chamber was. Because next, we were treated and tortured by having to watch Ronda Rousey with one arm tied behind her back, not a drip of makeup, and in a weird baggy gi, and her partner Naomi with her flea market light up shoes taking on Charlotte Flair and Sonya Deville. I was checked out the minute this match came onto my TV screen, Brian.
So
I sat through it. God damn it.
First off, you've already mentioned it, so let's talk about it. Ronda Rousey and her gi. At least the gi somewhat had a story of that's the one that she won her gold medal in Taekwondo, yada, yada, yada. What that had to do with being in the Elimination Chamber pay-per-view, I'll never know. Maybe she was just like, I'm not wearing a spandex suit. I'll wear this gi. And then she had this big, giant robe of a gi on, and then for some reason didn't wear makeup. And you don't have to wear makeup. I'm not that guy. My ladies don't have to wear makeup. But when she always does on TV, and then you don't, it looks different. So, and then she had that giant, she just looked like she woke up. Like she looked like she was coming down with a robe on to go make coffee at 7 a.m. in the morning to get her day started. What it looked like.
And I know this makes us look like complete assholes. And it's just like the fact that everybody else on the show is wearing makeup, and WWE is an entertainment company, and you want to be flashy, and the fact that Ronda Rousey chose she wasn't wearing any makeup kind of takes the focus off the rest of the match. I know it's wrong to focus on that, but it's the truth. It kind of takes the focus off. Then if you shoot her from the waist up, the baggy ass judo gi she was wearing does look like she just walked downstairs and popped a pod in the Keurig.
Like, it's all right. Like, I get it, but she always wears makeup, too. She always does the eyes. Her eyes are always done with the makeup and everything, and it's a thing. That'd be like sending Rey Mysterio out and he just didn't have his mask on. And just nobody talk about it. Just everybody moving. Like, there's Rey Mysterio, and you're just like, nobody's going to say, like, we're not talking about this. Like, Charlotte Flair shaved her head and comes out bald, and we're just like, we're not going to speak about this. It's just going to happen. Like, it's how awkward it felt. And then the tying of the hand behind the back, that lasted for about 7 seconds as it was tied to her hip. Like, it was tied to her side. It just rotated around. It was weird and terrible, and I didn't like anything about this match. You saw the ending was written on the wall. Ronda Rousey challenged Charlotte Flair for the title at WrestleMania. Okay. Ronda Rousey's getting the pin or the win over Sonya Deville because they're not going to have Charlotte Flair take the loss, and they're not going to give the pin to Naomi.
Right.
How can it go any other way?
One outcome. The element of surprise, the excitement was immediately taken out of this match, and then the performance was immediately taken out of this match because although it ended up on her hip, Ronda Rousey still didn't have her right hand available throughout this match. So it just turned the entire match into a clusterfuck.
Yeah, I can beat you with one arm tied behind my back. okay, Mrs. Literal, we're gonna do it, I guess, for whatever reason, and she's gonna show off, but have to
Well,
be set up into
supposedly,
spots.
I hadn't been following this storyline. Sonya Deville was her arm was supposed to be hurt,
Yeah,
and don't even sell that throughout the match and have her act like her arm's hurt. Just immediately, as soon as the bell rings, she throws the sling up in the air and whoop did he do? Sonya Deville bamboozled Ronda Rousey.
yeah, they just blew the wad right there in the second that it was over. It was out. It was like, look, we're not going to sell this fake arm injury. We're not going to. You're going to wear a weird gi, and we already know how who's going to win and how it's going down. So who cares? That's where I'm at on this match. We can move right along as far as I care.
Well, to give a little analysis to this match, the only thing good about this match was Charlotte Flair. She was okay. She was healing it up, doing her thing, doing what she's good at. She was working Ronda Rousey's left arm, which was the one that wasn't tied to her hip, using the rope and Ronda Rousey's hair to control her movement. So Charlotte Flair, even though she was shoved into this big pile of shit, managed to still get herself over and get some heat on herself. So she did what she needed to do.
She did well without being physical, too. She didn't even have to get in the ring. The best would have been if she just would have kept avoiding getting in the ring with Ronda Rousey, if you ask me. She did for a minute, but just like completely avoided it would have been hilarious, like that she never actually got in the ring.
That would have been great. And like you said, we know Naomi's not getting the pin here. But she is forced to do the babyface comeback because Ronda Rousey's, for lack of a better term, fucking useless in this match. And we end up getting to the point here where Ronda Rousey has Sonya Deville set up for an armbar and dares Charlotte Flair to interfere. Charlotte Flair, ultimate heel move, betrays her partner and just refuses to get involved. And boy, that was a shitty armbar. Sonya Deville's arm was like this, and she's just tapping away.
Yeah, they could have at least told that was the injured arm, a previously injured arm, and she tapped before it was broken, right? Or they can,
Right.
You watch an MMA fight and they tap before it's in full locked position. They're like, "Fuck, he's got me." I ain't getting out of that. He'd break my arm before I get out of it. So the WWE's got to get quicker with their commentators on calling these explosive type finishes instead of just being like that old school. Like take an arm, like you said, WWE an arm bar. Somebody does it in the middle of a match and you finish it out. UFC, somebody gets an arm bar on you, you're tapping 2.8 seconds. So
right,
they got to get a little quicker on if that's a finishing move that it happens like that. An arm bar is a quick thing, so they got to dust their skills off with that one.
So yeah, just whatever they were going for in that match just happened. No excitement, no anticipation. The excitement will be when Ronda Rousey takes on Charlotte Flair.
Right. That was just the tease. That is all it was. They didn't have a creative way to get there, so they did it this way. That was that. Nothing exciting.
Man, the regular matches in this show, Brian, really stunk.
When you break them down, like after you watch it, I went, meh. And then you started to think about it, and I was texting with Andy, and now we're talking about it, and it's like, this pay-per-view or premium live event kind of stunk up the joint.
Yeah, it managed to stink up that giant concrete fucking dome they had there in Saudi Arabia.
The largest concrete arena in the world, the Superdome in Saudi Arabia.
But our next stinker was Drew McIntyre taking on Madcap Moss in a Falls Count Anywhere match.
In a fucking first one in a wheelchair match because fucking he was trying to put him in one.
Yeah, just from the beginning, let's break this down. Drew McIntyre hasn't been over since his match with Brock Lesnar in an empty arena. Madcap Moss, who gives a fuck about Madcap Moss and his gay stripper outfit? And then Falls Count Anywhere match. So lazy booking garbage match. Just so that we can have Happy Corbin interfere without consequences. I think that was the whole Falls Count Anywhere.
Yeah, I guess.
Gimmick.
Yeah, I mean, let's just get into the meat and potatoes of this. We got an Alabama slam coming from what's his? I'm having a brain fart. What the heck was his name now?
Mad Cat Moss.
Yeah, Mad Cat Moss gets an Alabama slammed right on his stack of dimes. He calls a neck, as Steve Austin would call it. Drew McIntyre spiked him on his dome piece, and it was a scary moment. It was like, oh, and you're just hoping to see movement. And luckily, he's a jacked up ex-football player with a giant trap muscles and just strong. So I'm sure that saved him because he landed square on his head.
Now, my son, there's some really messed up videos on the internet. My son has seen a lot of them, and he does not like wrestling. He is not apt to come out and watch what I'm watching, but I called him out of his room and I said, "You got to watch this botch," and showed him the Alabama slam. And before Mad Cat's head even hit the canvas, my son was cringed into a ball, just like, "Ugh."
Yeah, that was a bad one.
And within 45 seconds, Mad Cat Moss is back on his feet and ready to brawl, man, ready to go through a table awkwardly.
Yeah, the good news was that Happy Corbin was out there on the side of the ring, so like it had a reason for Drew to not get his hands on him, right? So he pulls him out of the ring, pulls Madcap out of the ring. The ref is still attending to him, making sure that this guy can feel his feet and he's gonna walk again. We're not getting a Darren Drozdoff situation live in the ring. So then now they can turn, Drew McIntyre and Happy Corbin can chase each other around the ring and do their nonsense, and then out of nowhere, hot dog, there's Madcap. He's back in the mix.
And I paused this thing because I watched it 24 hours after it aired, and I was just searching all over. Like I wanted some sort of medical update on Mad Cat here, and
he's straight.
Just people talking on the internet saying basically if he was a weakling, if he wasn't built like a brick shit house, he would have been paralyzed. But because he is who he is and he's completely jacked, he was fine.
Yeah.
And yeah, there's nothing else to say. That was the point of this match. And then Drew McIntyre the other debate was people on the internet talking about he tucked his chin because that's the way you're taught when you fall, you're supposed to tuck your chin. And people are like, not when you take a flat face bump, you fucking idiot.
Yeah, you don't tuck your chin when you're going down. You tuck your chin when you're landing on your back. Don't tuck your chin when you're landing on your stomach.
Goddamn idiots on the internet. But
they just let anybody have that internet.
That was the only exciting thing of this match. I hate Happy Corbin. I hate Sad Corbin. I hate King Corbin. I hate anything having to do with Corbin and his stupid dollar sign on his neck.
Yeah. And then they kind of botched the that throw suplex through the announce table.
Yeah, he just kind of Mad Cat just slid right off the table and landed nicely in the office chair. That was conveniently right there.
Yeah, that was a little... I mean, nobody got hurt. It just didn't go as planned, and it looked like garbage. But yeah, then this thing just eventually gets wrapped up with a fucking Claymore kick to the face, and Drew McIntyre wins.
Yeah, besides Drew McIntyre needing to be put into a mental facility here as King Corbin tries to interfere once again. Drew McIntyre swings a fucking sword at him, Brian.
Yeah. The timing the timing had to be impeccable with that spot, right? Like,
yeah, I didn't go back and watch it again because I didn't care that much, but I was wondering if he swung up so that there was no way to hit Corbin here, or if Corbin really had to avoid that swing.
Listen, at the rate these guys were moving, they didn't even need to do a working sword swinging spot. They needed to stay away from it. They've already spiked one guy on his dome piece and then tried to throw somebody through a table, and that fucked up. So let's just stay away from the swinging of swords.
Yeah, how about we keep the fucking 50-inch sword on the mat here?
Yeah, let's put that one in our back pocket.
Drew McIntyre proceeds to kick Mad Cat right in the fucking head with a Claymore kick. after the neck injury, and while holding his sword here. So another vomit-inducing moment here, and Drew McIntyre gets the win. And I don't know who expected Mad Cat to win that, but if you did, you're an idiot.
Yeah. And if you did, and why would you want Mad Cap, whatever he is, the Mad Hatter, to win a match? What does it matter? And why were they even fighting, and what was it good for?
Yeah, war. What is it good for?
Absolutely.
Why do
nothing.
birds suddenly appear every time Matt Riddle is near? Next on our shit show here we have Lita taking on Becky Lynch, and this is for the Raw Women's title. Brian, did you expect Lita to win the Raw Women's title from Becky Lynch after Becky Lynch's comeback?
No, let's be honest. And you watch this, you knew you were going to get the same exact match you got with Roman Reigns and Bill Goldberg.
This was just the female version.
It was bring out a legend and have them fight the champion. So you got to see a champion and a legend. It was a twofer, and that's what you got. Lita didn't look bad. She didn't look terrible for being out of the ring for so long, but it was just everything you got was what you expected, because if you expected her to lose the title to Lita going into a WrestleMania rundown here, what are you going to do? And the next pay-per-view is WrestleMania. So,
oh, yeah.
Like
there is no March pay-per-view?
I don't think so. They just kept saying the next time we'll see on a premium live event will be WrestleMania. Like, I don't think there was another one. Like, I swear that's what they said. So even if there was another one of those shitty ones in it, like the Fast Lane or whatever they used to call it, like you would at least go, well, all right, there's Fast Lane. She can flip it back. But again, it just beats up that streak of going into the pay-per-view. Like, oh, I lost it, then I won it back. Like, it just kind of kills the vibe.
Yeah, so to break down this match, it doesn't take too much. Pretty average match overall. Becky Lynch's emotion is making this thing palatable. Lita gets pretty fired up for her comeback. She's a little clunky, but she looks good for being gone for 16 years or whatever it was, just like you said. This match is going on a very long time. At least it felt like a long time. And Lita's not gassed. And that was probably the biggest surprise for me is this chick is freaking moving. And this match is going forever. And she's not out of breath.
The best,
props to Lita here.
And the other good thing that Lita had going for her is that she had to wear a attire that fit her age. Like, her gimmick didn't even look any different than she normally should have dressed. Like, the long sleeves, she wore, like, the long sleeves anyways, but usually it was, like, a fishnet stuff underneath, that's the thing. But that's what she should have been wearing. That thing that she wore at Royal Rumble was embarrassing.
Yeah, absolutely. The only thing that bothered me, just because I'm a nutcase, was her stupid belt was undone, and it was just hanging. And I was just thinking, take off the stupid belt. Like, you're not... You're not going to be put in jail for taking your belt off there. It just annoyed the hell out of me. But like I said, pretty average match. We get to see a couple twist of fates from Lita here for near falls. We get a disarm her and a manhandle slam for Becky Lynch, and Lita kicks out of those. So we're really emphasizing that legend status here, that Bill Goldberg thing where we're kicking out of double finishers.
Yeah, and then you got to give it to him. Like, if you're going to let anybody kick out of finishers, and you're going to take it to the limit at a match, it was a legend, and it can make sense. It's not Lee Moriarty on Wednesday night taking, Roman Reigns to the nth degree, right? Because that's what we get a lot of times is, like, I hate to pick on poor Lee, but whoever it is, fill in the blank, that can take down the champion or take these guys, these main event stars on any promotion to the limit. You're going, what are we doing? You're supposed to be the shit here. But if a legend's going to take you to the limit on a pay-per-view, I can let it slide.
Absolutely. We get another twist of fate from Lita, and we get to see a moonsault from Lita, and that she pulled that off pretty nice. Becky Lynch kicks out of that. And then we get a bit of an awkward exchange here. Nobody really knew where they were supposed to be or what was supposed to happen, but we somehow managed to get a manhandle slam out of it. And Becky Lynch is still your Raw Women's Champion here. It's a wrap on that.
Yeah. And again, you knew how it was going to go. So, and it went exactly the way it should have. Any other way would have been stupid.
And then moving on from that. Oh, real quick before we move on, do you think we're done seeing Lita now?
Probably not. I think we might see her through WrestleMania.
Yeah, I think she got the itch, and I think she did pretty well there. So I wouldn't mind seeing her in the ring a couple more times, especially after she knocks the rust off.
Yeah, I think she could knock the rust off. She could use some mid card matches and some things, and she can be involved in the the whatever they call it, the 24/7 championship version or something.
Yeah, so we'll see from there. And then probably the best match of the night coming up next here is for the SmackDown Tag Team Championships, Brian. We got the Usos taking on the Viking Raiders, and the Usos attacked the Raiders on their entrance. Ivar and Eric could not continue, and the match did not happen.
Yeah, could you imagine flying all the way 16 hours to Saudi Arabia for that horse shit?
Why? I would just say, you know what? I'll skip the paycheck. Just
Yeah, like I went, oh cool,
say
the Viking Raiders, like they're bringing them back. Maybe we're gonna start to get something with it, and then the bloodline jumps them, and you get this thing, and I'm like, oh, all right, well, whatever. Then it gets started, and they're like, nope, that was the match. So it's like, did they call an audible? And like we're running out of time, like we got to tighten this up a little bit. Sorry guys, it's just you got to go for the melee in the runway there and the entrance ramp, and that's the match.
Yeah, it had to be an audible. There's no way they flew these guys out here with this as the intention. But
Yeah.
again, it's a premium live event on Peacock. It's not like we're paying the pay-per-view company money for every half hour we're on or whatever. So I don't just put the damn match on.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I'm with you. Like it seems unlimited, right? The space, the time to be able to take up. So it's like it goes 2 hours and 47 minutes or it goes 3 hours. Like what's the 12 minutes going to kill?
But I'm with you on that. But then we are moving straight into our main event, Brian. We have got the Elimination Chamber match for the WWE Championship. We've got the champion, Bobby Lashley, will be taking on Brock Lesnar, Seth Rollins, Matt Riddle, Austin Theory, and AJ Styles. And we've got Austin Theory and Seth Rollins opening this match up.
Now, opposed to the women's, where I literally could have saw any of the 5, but not in any particular, and I had my rankings of who was towards the top and the bottom, right? You can knock a good 3 of these guys right out of here. Riddle's not winning this thing.
Nope.
Ain't happening. Because the winner is going to be the champion.
Main eventing WrestleMania.
The winner is going to be the WWE champion. So whether Bobby Lashley wins and retains or somebody else wins this Elimination Chamber, that's a new champion. So they're not putting the strap at this time on Matt Riddle. They're not putting the strap at this time on Austin Theory. WWE is crazy, and they may want to do that at some point in life, but that ain't going to happen. So those two are immediately out. AJ Styles has been on the verge of meh for a while. I still like him.
Right.
I think he's a great wrestler and great worker, but he hasn't been in that forefront. So now you're down to the other two. You're down to Bobby Lashley and Brock. So either Bobby's keeping it
you
or
got Seth Rollins.
and Seth. I'm sorry. So you could one of those 3 are plausible. Those 3 are plausible.
Yeah, it's Bobby Lashley or Brock Lesnar. Seth Rollins is the wild card, because he really wasn't involved with these guys. He's been dicking around with Roman Reigns over on SmackDown.
Yeah. So I'm with you that this was in any way it could go was any of the 3, but those 3. But those first 2 aren't walking away with the title. Not a chance in hell.
We start this thing out with Austin Theory and Seth Rollins, and these 2 guys work pretty well together. I've said it before. Austin Theory, the kid can work. He's just booked like shit, and he's small.
He might be
So
the future or something, but he's not the right now.
right. So yeah, that was entertaining to see these two go at it. Kobe Lopez or whatever is he's a hell of a worker, and it's sad to see him spinning his wheels sometimes, and that again might be because he's so small. Um, Vince loves his big boys.
He does, and he's in that spot right now of big guys, so it is what it is. But the thing with big guys is what do you do? Like, you can't have a whole roster of giant men. It doesn't happen.
Right.
They didn't even do that in the 80s.
Seth Rollins' main event championship talent, mid card size. So yeah, I think he'll never leave WWE. WWE would keep throwing money at him forever. But man, he would fit in so well at AEW right there at the top of the card. Seth Rollins could run that joint.
Oh, yeah. Kobe Lopez would be the head motherfucker over there, wouldn't he?
Oh yeah, they bring out his brother Mario, because I'm sure Mario does shit on TNT and TBS. Saved by the Bell is on.
Still got
24.
contract.
Yeah, but the meat and potatoes of these two starting this thing out with Seth Rollins buckle bombing. I guess that's what we're gonna call it here. Buckle bombing Austin Theory through Bobby Lashley's chamber. Bobby Lashley falls down, hits his life alert necklace, and you got the medical personnel out there immediately to check on his well-being.
Now, the way that they did sell this, with like everybody coming in the ring and all the referees and everything attending to him, it for like a quarter of a second, it wasn't sold, but it made me go, did he really? You know what I'm saying? There's that like, oh shit, he's hurt. But it made me think, did he really get hurt? Because they ignored it. Like, the wrestlers never went over there. Because sometimes you find out somebody's hurt, and then you, like, basically they yell, yo, you good? Yeah, I'm good. Oh, okay,
Right.
Cool. And then you go into work, and you start putting the boots to him. Well, they never touched him again. So I was like, oh, maybe he really got hurt. Lo and behold, read the dirt sheets, dig up the information. He's been injured since Royal Rumble, and with a nagging injury, and that was the reason to take him out like that. Now, the whole concussion protocol thing was a laughing joke that they had to call that was a concussion because he took a bump worse than a referee does.
Now, I read that he was actually injured. I had just kind of came across it in the headlines, so I didn't know when he got injured. Eventually, I dug into it. So I was thinking, obviously, he was faking that he was hurt with the head injury or whatever. I was waiting the rest of the match for Bobby Lashley to come back.
Sure. That's because that's a famous, like, wrestling, old school wrestling, like, the champion's injured, the champion's back, and he's the fighting champion.
I was expecting that the whole time, and then I expected Brock Lesnar to F5 him through one of the pods or something, and then he tears his shoulder or whatever. But nope, lo and behold, the whole concussion thing was just a cover-up. Bobby Lashley needs shoulder surgery, and he may be gone up to 4 months.
Yeah.
So that is a big bummer for Bobby Lashley because he's hotter than he's ever been.
And the commentators, can't blame the commentators. They didn't do it. I understand they're doing a job and they're told what to say. But I thought they blew it up when they were like, Bobby Lashley's not coming back, so we're getting a new champion. Like,
I took it in the opposite direction, Brian. I was still on the train of, nope, there's no way Bobby Lashley's coming back. He can't come back. It's a wrap.
Well,
we're going to have a new champion. And then here comes Bobby Lashley.
Now, I would have normally believed you. I would normally be on your side and believe that if they would have sold it as Bobby Lashley is been injured. Bobby Lashley's been injured, but they were using the term he's suffered. We're dealing with concussion protocol now. Bobby Lashley can't come back. So now they're selling that he has a concussion. So, like, with the NFL and everybody else going hard on the concussion stuff, you can't claim he has a concussion to have him come back and wrestle. So it was like, this guy ain't coming back. So it was just kind of blew the wad for me that it was like, well, there's your new champion's going to happen, and then you can just take the inventory of the room.
Yeah, I wonder who's going to win this one. I wonder who's going to pin Brock Lesnar out of this motley crew we got going on.
Yeah, so that was that blew up that spot. But then Brock, where we at? Brock gets or Bobby Lashley's pod lights up at this point, right?
Well, first we had Riddle and AJ eventually enter, and I just wanted to put a little spotlight on WWE loves Riddle. They just love that these fans are such
Bro.
idiot stoners. Just that's so funny, man. That they just they write spots into this match for Matt Riddle just to do goofy shit.
Sure.
And it's just like, all right, whatever. Like, you got your shit in, get them the hell out of here. So you got AJ and Riddle in there. They do their goofy shit. Bobby Lashley's pod lights up, but he's not in it.
So who can come
So
in?
we have to wait 2 more minutes. Brock Lesnar's the only guy left. We have to wait, Brian. That's the only thing to do.
Brock Lesnar ain't waiting for shit.
Apparently, according to the dirt sheets once again, Lesnar wasn't supposed to kick his fucking pot open. He went into business for himself, went off script, and just started booting the shit out of his pot. He wasn't waiting.
Now, my theory is, well, I didn't read that, and I really didn't look anything up. But my theory was that he went into business for himself but he did the wrongs. But I thought it was supposed to be a working side. I thought because the thing didn't break. And then they show him turn around and look at the referee and put his hands out. So I think he was kicking the wall and it broke. And then he turns and looks at the referee. They show it at the end of the match. You can go back and watch it. And he turns and he's like, "Oh shit." Like he's trying to do that like gorilla zoo thing, right? Like, I'll get you. And it broke. And I think they were like, "You gotta go." You gotta go.
Right.
So yeah, I was thinking the same thing. I was like, oh no, like he was just trying to show off of how strong and mad he was and that he wanted out, and it broke. And then he tried kicking it out, and he was like, But then later in the match, Austin Theory runs into Brock Lesnar's pod and shuts the door. Well, Brock boots the other side, and that side just flies apart like nobody's business. So then I was like, well, maybe he was supposed to kick the other side to get out. I was confused. I wasn't sure which way it was supposed to go.
Who knows exactly what happened, but either way, it was the right thing to do. If the script called for waiting 2 minutes or however long the time limit is for Brock Lesnar, just so we could watch these dickheads roll around for a little bit longer, that was the wrong way to go. Lesnar immediately getting in and getting involved. That was what we needed to do here. And Lesnar does just that. Kicks the wall out. Looks like he almost cuts his nuts there on the broken plexiglass stepping over it. Just immediately starts cleaning house. We got F5 to Seth Rollins, eliminated. F5 to Matt Riddle, eliminated. That's when we get at our concussion protocol announcement from the announcers here. Lesnar F5 to AJ Styles, eliminated. We are down to just Lesnar and Theory. And although we already know what's going to happen, Brian, this was entertaining as all shit.
I thought this was hilarious. It was fun. It was interesting. It was a different way to look at Brock Lesnar. I was talking with Andy. He wasn't very excited about it. But my thought was like, it was just watching him run away. You never thought he was really going to get one up on him. He does go for a nut shot somewhere along the line. He throws a little bit of offense at him, but you know you're not taking Brock down with that. So the only way I saw it really going over is because he's supposed to be Vince's like guy now. He's trying to impress Mr. McMahon. If they bring back the Mr. McMahon character for a moment and he comes in and somehow there's a Saudi screw job and they help
Right.
Austin Theory get over to build this character. But it was funny, and like I saw a meme on Instagram this afternoon where it was like what anxiety feels like. Like who else was anxious watching this match? Because it was like I'm just thinking about me running. Like it felt like a nightmare. Like you can't get away from the monster. He was just always there.
Just for reference, Brock Lesnar does take off his gloves here, and I've seen videos of Brock Lesnar trying on gloves for UFC or whatever, and they give the guy a 4X glove, and he still says, "Oh boy, this is a little tight." He has trouble getting on a 4XL glove. So imagine being Austin Theory and running for your life. I loved it. Lesnar eventually catches him and suplexes him on the grate on the outside of the ring. That's when we get our low blow from Theory. Theory getting in a little bit of offense and actually gets a 2 count on Brock here. And this part I thought was great. I thought it was original. I thought it was hilarious. all through this pay-per-view, we're seeing the maybe 10-inch by 10-inch squares of the Elimination Chamber.
Sure.
We don't even think that the squares at the top are a little bit bigger, and Austin Theory has the top half of his body's already squoze through those chains, and he is about to get the F out.
Yeah, he was about ready to get the F out before he caught the F5. So, yeah, that was pretty entertaining, and like him getting out. Then I thought maybe they were going to do a spot on top where he gets on top, and I was like, this could really go anywhere. I thought it was fun. You don't get to see Brock Lesnar have fun. This is a new version, a new side of him where he's babyfacey, kind of fun, but he's still mean and takes care of business. So I thought it was all good. And then he sets him up. At first, I thought he was going to German suplex him off the pod. I was like, oh my God, he's going to suplex this son of a bitch. He's going to kill him. He's going to fucking kill him. And then I was like, well, then and then I saw him set him up. I was, he's going to F5 him. Then I thought Brock was going to go with him because, when he does the F5, right, he flips him up and he lands with you, like he brings you down. I was like, oh, my God. And he just said, fuck that. He just threw that son of a bitch like a fucking little kid. That was like me playing with my 6-year-old, just, whee, off you go. Like, he threw a grown man like a child.
And Austin Theory, thank God, the way they shot this thing, camera angle wise, it looked like the pod was 30 feet in the air.
Yeah.
Gorilla Monsoon would have had the biggest.
This thing's got to be
75
feet in the air.
So it looks like Austin Theory, theoretically, Brian, had plenty of time because it looked like an unsafe spot, but he had plenty of time to readjust himself and land how he wanted to land.
Sure.
But lo and behold, he landed outside the ring on that grate. So that couldn't have been comfortable no matter how you take that bump.
Yeah, even if that's working material, it's still not comfortable. Like, the ring still would have sucked. And then this part confused me. Like, so he takes the bump. It was what it was. You knew he wasn't going to take it flat like a real F5, right? I mean, he did it from 10 feet in the air or whatever. Like, he's not taking a real bump. But he takes it. It's for what it is, what it's worth. And then Brock comes down, and he drags him into the ring. And I don't know if Brock was lost, if he thought something else was going to happen, if he was not sure where the person was at if there was another person to eliminate or if somebody was going to get involved. But he just kind of had this, like, moment, and then he's just kind of fuck it, and he pinned him. Like, he didn't do anything else. Usually you might see him do another F5 or something or a couple German suplexes, but he was just like looked around, didn't do it, didn't even put the boots to him, and then just pinned him and won. And then did the fake selfie thing. But it seemed like he got lost there for about that last 3 to 5 seconds of that match.
Yeah, it was a little awkward, but man, that you immediately forget about that once, you think about the ending of this match. Basically, the minute Brock Lesnar got in, it just made it all worth it. All the goofy spots,
sure,
all the awkwardness, forgetting where you're at, Brock. We just forget all about it because that was a hell of an ending to a match.
Now, I was texting with Andy, and he said that he felt that they completely, like, kind of shat upon the Royal Rumble. That, like, now that meant nothing. Like, I looked at it as they just double stacked the dominance of Brock Lesnar, was the way that I was looking at it. He's looking at, like, you kind of lost another spot. So you have both titles tied up in one match instead of both titles being defended, where you could have put somebody else up on the pedestal to go have another match and start to build that next guy. So I see it my way because, hell, it was the way I was looking at it, but I can also see that, the way that he was looking at it as well, saying, like, we got 2 belts in one main event, and nobody else is getting a title shot besides Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar.
And I'm going to have to agree with a good friend of the show, Andy, here, that, we have a 2-night WrestleMania, Brian, and we only have one WWE championship up for grab. I mean, 2 belts, but 1 match. Poor Big E. We're just going to say it. Big E Langston got pooped on. He got his belt taken away from him. Brock Lesnar took it, and it makes this match, Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns, absolutely humongous, bigger than life, the fact that both titles. But man, you had to shit on Big E like that, and now he's just floating around and
wasn't even on the pay-per-view. Didn't even go to Saudi.
Yeah. Maybe that was his punishment. I ain't going to Saudi. Well, fuck you.
Fuck you, Jack.
You're getting a free match on the free per view for WrestleMania.
Yeah, like I can get it. Like, and I'm with after looking at it that way. Now I can't unsee it, right? And I'm going, well, yeah, you're right. They could have done something else. They put Brock in this match. Brock shouldn't have been in the Elimination Chamber. But if the Elimination Chamber wasn't in Saudi, Brock wouldn't have been in it.
Right.
That's as simple as that. And then
That's the only
Brock's
way
in
to
it, so
get it.
now what do? You either have Brock get injured or Brock leave the pod and go chase Roman Reigns and Paul Heyman and get eliminated in a different way, right? Yeah, you would have to work him out correctly, but, putting the strap on him was a huge moment for the Saudi crowd. And then he,
Absolutely.
embraced the crowd in a way you've never seen Brock Lesnar embrace people before. He's, leaning in the crowd, hugging everybody, and they're taking selfies, and he's screaming, "Let's go," and he's posing for pictures, and it was, a whole new side to Brock. So it's interesting, and I'm not mad at it because, well, it happened, and I can't change it anyways, but I think it'll make for an entertaining WrestleMania weekend. I'm thinking we're going to get two title defenses. So the way that my pulling my booking out of the ass theory is that you'll get the first night on Saturday night is when you're going to get your Roman Reigns. They're going to put Roman and Brock up on Saturday night. And then
Right.
Roman wins it, but then Brock embraces his his rematch clause for Sunday
Gets his
night.
rematch. I mean, that would be fantastic. And again, booking like that, or even just booking as the main event Sunday night, this match is going to be bigger than life. It was just at the expense of two other main eventers that could
Sure.
have been headlining.
Right.
And it's just half of one,
But
six of the other, or whatever.
But Bobby's arm was hurt, so if Bobby's arm wasn't hurt, maybe they would have kept the strap on him to then let AJ Styles go do his thing again or something and get a WrestleMania match again. So, there's a couple different options, but people were hurt, and you're rebuilding on the fly. That's pro wrestling.
I guess not to drag this thing into the mud here, but now that you mention it, who else is main event material for that night?
Well, that's
for
and that was the defense that Andy was having, is that you need to start building another person to be a main event spot, because you can't always rely on Brock, and you can't always rely on who, you got to start to put somebody else that's a possibility in that ranking.
Right, because of right now, if you just told me Brock Lesnar got stuck in Canada in an avalanche or something, and he's currently digging himself out, who else is? So you got Kobe Lopez, he'd be okay in a main event for WrestleMania, but I wouldn't be super excited about him main eventing. Big E Langston, wouldn't be super excited.
KO
Bobby Lashley, not an option, and KO is another one. Kevin Owens, he'd be okay. It's he deserves to be there, but
they haven't done enough with him. But they haven't done enough with him to make him replaceable in that main event and go, hot damn, he's in it.
Right.
It would just be reaching back and going, hey, you remember this guy? Go wrestle.
So yeah, what it comes down to is they put all their eggs in one basket, and that being Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, no one else can fill that spot. What if towards the end of March, Brock gets stuck in Canada and Roman gets COVID again or something?
Or Brock says, fuck it, I ain't wrestling no more, and just decides he's done and he's going to go learn jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, any of these things can happen, and there's no options left. I mean, like I said, ton of people you can stick in there and be like, yeah, but none would be like, holy shit, I got to see this.
Sure. And that's where they've painted themselves in a corner. And hopefully everything keeps working out for them. and them meaning WWE and Vince McMahon and the booking committee. So that was the Elimination Chamber. All in all, it passed. It was maybe a 3-star for me, 2.5, 3 stars. It wasn't amazing, but the time didn't drag on those. They did well putting it together for me, but other than that, we'll give it to that. Make sure you guys follow us on all the social media platforms, TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, subscribe. We go live on Thursdays or Sundays, maybe both, and just keep your hit that notification bell. You can see when we go live. You can pop in the chat and ask some questions. We had a gentleman named Papa Putty pop in there for a second. He asked a question about Raw and the ratings and that, but we weren't on that topic, so I kind of ignored it. But God bless you, Papa Putty. Subscribe. We'll get to your questions next time. And yeah, that's the KayFabe Smark podcast, episode 90. Eric, what do you got for us?
That's about a wrap on that. So for you, Brian Rappa, for the resident snooze and pit bull, Stella Marie, and for myself, all I got to say is hooty hoo. We out the gates.